Hey, Scott here, Scotty's Animals. I get this email frequently, and I just got a couple emails the other day. One from Mandy, and one from Apple, and another from Randy. And they were all asking me about fighting guinea pigs. They said, my boys got in a fight, and it was pretty bad. Can they ever go back together? And coincidentally, Nails and Piggy Smalls just got in a fight, and I'm not even sure when it happened. So actually I noticed it. You okay? I noticed it yesterday morning when I was checking on everybody. I noticed that there was something going on with Nails' ear. And here, let's look at a close-up right now. Come here, baby. So as you can see from this close-up, it's pretty bad. He got bit through the ear, basically, on all those folds, but it will heal very quickly, miraculously. This looks a lot worse than it is because I just sprayed Bactine antiseptic spray, so that's why it looks wet and raw. But really, it's been healing for a day or two. So let's talk about fighting. But before we do, let's actually talk about bites. Now, first of all, if your guinea pigs are fighting, never put your hand between fighting guinea pigs, especially boys. But never put your hand between any guinea pigs that are chattering or seem like they're gonna fight or are actually in the middle of a fight. Because if they bite your hand or your finger really deeply, even the tip of the finger, if it's deep enough, it can cause a nasty infection, and you would actually need to go to the hospital for antibiotics. Now let's talk about bite wounds on your piggies. Generally speaking, even a really bad looking bite will heal unless they get bit on the eye or through the hand or some kind of a bite that demands stitches or immediate attention, like an x-ray to see if something's been broken. Then you really don't have to worry, it will heal. I would recommend Bactine, something like that. That's an antiseptic spray. I'll put a link to that in the description, as well as just any old Neosporin. There's a special Neosporin cream that we like to use at the rescue instead of the regular ointment. So that's one reason why it's really important to have an emergency kit in case your piggies get bit. You're ready to deal with it, and you don't have to go out to the store, or you don't have to order things. Terramycin for an eye injury is also something that I highly recommend. So all of these, there's links to all of this stuff either in the description or on my website, scottysanimals.com. So the most important thing, if your guinea pigs fight, is that you clean any wounds and that they're separated, if this is truly a fight. Now, let's talk about the difference between boys and girls, because if you watch this video here called Guinea Pig Bonding Rules, what you'll notice is that actually girls go through a pretty ferocious and bullying period sometimes if there's a really bossy piggy. But the way they're fighting is not the same as the way boys are fighting. So don't actually take it as such a serious thing. In the video that I've linked to, you can see the girls, the way they work it out. One of them is a big bully and is nose punching and chasing the others around. But those girls specifically ended up getting along and living a long, happy life together. And you will find that if there is no actual biting, and when they bite, they latch on and they're rolling around, and it can be very scary and very dangerous for them. But if it's just like a nose punching thing like in the video that I'm recommending you watch, then generally speaking, they will figure it out. There will be a boss girl and they will figure it out. But when it comes to bonding a pair of boys, they don't fight like girls. They really fight. They fight to hurt each other, and they fight for finality. They're fighting to get away from each other. They've decided that they don't like each other, and that might be that. Now, if you really know your piggies very well and they've been living together like Nails and Piggy Smalls, like this morning when I walked in to check on them, these guys are laying down next to each other. Now, they have had previous fights, but it is amazing that they might fight. One of them might bite the other, once every couple months. Is that worth breaking them up over? It's hard to say, and it has to be your call. Because if you think about it, look at his chubbiness. He's gotten so big. Don't nibble me. Now, if I personally wouldn't break these boys up over something like that. What seems to be happening is Nails is so much bigger than Piggy Smalls, and he pushes him around a little bit, and he tries to do the humping thing. They both rumble strut at each other, and I've seen both of them with bite marks. In this case, it was Nails, but I've seen Piggy Smalls with a little scab on his side. It actually got infected. I had to squeeze out some goop, and then it healed just fine. So you really have to be careful that if they do get a bite, it doesn't get infected. And, it wasn't a big deal. It just underneath the scab, it started getting puffy and gross. And so I pushed on it, and some, I guess you'd call it pus, but it was just like a goop. What, you hear them? It was just some funk infection, basically. And I squeezed it out, and then I flushed it again. I think I put water in a syringe, and I really tried to get any particles, and then I sprayed Bactine, and then I put on some antibiotic ointment, and everything was okay. And I know their personalities. I know that they get along really well. But in your case, you might have to keep them side by side. Now, Billy, he's lived with other piggies for a while, but he generally either won't stop annoying them or he gets threatened, and he's just really been thriving living by himself. Now, he doesn't live alone. All of my piggies, they have somebody on the other side of the cage that they can talk to. And it's really important that your piggies do too. So if your piggies got in a fight, I wouldn't say now it's time to return one, or they must live in separate rooms. No, they can still talk and interact. Before I even found the rescue, when I got my first pair of guinea pigs as an adult, I got them both from a pet store. I've made the same mistake. I've been working really hard to try to reverse those mistakes. But I got my first pair of piggies from the pet store. And after a couple months, they were brothers. And after a couple months, they broke up. They started fighting, and they could never live together. But they did live in a big CNC cage with a grid divided, and I would see them laying down next to each other all the time, touching through the grids. But it was just, if there was no grid, one of them would pester the other, and there was a trust issue. So it's really, they are individuals, and so it's going to be up to your judgment based on what you've seen and what you know about them as to whether or not they will be able to be reunited. But it doesn't mean that you can't love them, and you just have to get it out of your head, this perfect, harmonious thing that you are striving for. And especially with boys, if you're committed to both of them, they can live perfectly happy, wonderful lives side by side, or in the same cage with just a divider, and depending on how they are, maybe you pull them out into neutral territory and let them play until it gets bad. You wrap your hand and you intervene before they do fight. And maybe they'll be able to be put back together in a few weeks, in a few months. It depends. Some piggies, it takes them years before they calm down enough to accept another piggy in their living space. So they're amazing, sweet individuals, and it's up to you to get to know them and know them well enough to decide what's right for them. So I hope that has answered your question. You could put any follow-up questions in the comments, and I will try to get to them as best as I can. And I encourage anyone else who reads the comments to also answer, because we're a community of really guinea pig experts at this point. There's a lot of us that are new to guinea pigs, but there's a lot of people in the comments who have been doing this for as longer, if not longer, than I have. My sweet, sweet Nails. So I'm gonna put Nails back. It's time to get this day going. But I will be checking on his ear every day to make sure that it doesn't get infected. And every day I'll be putting the antifungal cream and keeping an eye on it until the scabs fall off and I can see that it's not infected. Don't fight with him. He doesn't want you humping him. Okay, guys. See you next time.